Well, do you want to know more about Colonial Place in Norfolk, one of the great old neighborhoods in Norfolk, Virginia? Well, that's what we're talking about today, Colonial Place in Norfolk, Virginia, and we're starting right now. Hey, my name's Sam Sansalone and I'm a real estate agent in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and if it's your first time here, welcome. So glad you're here. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification next to it, and you'll be notified every time I do a video about Hampton Roads and about real estate and real estate in Hampton Roads. Now, today we're talking about Colonial Place in Norfolk, Virginia. Now, Colonial Place is one of the older neighborhoods in Norfolk, so I'll talk about things like where it is in relation to the rest of Hampton Roads, the history behind Colonial Place in Hampton Roads, real estate and real estate prices in Colonial Place, in case you're thinking about moving to Norfolk or Virginia Beach and thinking about if Colonial Place is a good option for you and your price range. Grocery stores, school districts as well. A couple recommendations of restaurants I'll give you too. So first of all, where is Colonial Place? Well, it's in the top, in the northern section of the southern piece of Norfolk. That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Well, actually, because it doesn't make sense. If you look at a map, you'll see Granby Street that goes from the south side to the north side of Norfolk, and it connects both the north and south pieces. And on the north end of the south side of Norfolk, you'll see Colonial Place. It's just west of Granby Street and due north of Ghent and Downtown Norfolk. Only about 5 to 10 minutes. And so drive time to Ghent, if you like Ghent, is about 5 minutes, if that. Now, because you're further away from an interstate, driving to places like Town Center and downtown Virginia Beach and the ocean front of Virginia Beach take a little bit longer because you have to drive a few extra minutes to get to the interstate in order to get to where you need to go. So, for instance, Colonial Place, it takes you about 25-ish minutes to get to Town Center and about 35-ish minutes to get to the ocean front. Now, if you're thinking about moving there and working up on the peninsula where Hampton, Newport News, and all that are, you want to take Granby Street probably up to where it connects to the interstate, and if you see on the map there, it takes about a good solid 15 minutes to get to close to the tunnel in downtown Norfolk at least. So if you're planning on moving there and working in Hampton, Newport News, expect about at least a 40 to 45 minute commute time to get to the peninsula. Now, the history of Colonial Place. There's some really cool little things in Colonial Place that I want to tell you about. Number one, it was built in the early 1900s during World War I. It was to facilitate a lot of the people, the Navy, that moved here in World War I, and so that was one of the main neighborhoods that were built in that time period. When the homes were built in the early 1900s, it was consistent with the time period of when the Jamestown Exposition happened at Little Creek to celebrate the 300-year anniversary of Jamestown settlement. So they named the 13 streets going east to west in Colonial Place after the 13 colonies in the United States. And if you see the north and south parallel streets, 2 of those are named after the captains of the ships that sailed settlers into Jamestown. Now, some of those homes were called kit homes. What's a kit home? A kit home is literally just that. It's like you got a kit for a house that you build on site, but it's exactly the amount of materials and the style of cut materials that you need to build a house. So you buy the house, then you assemble it on the site, but it's priced inclusive in everything except the foundation in exactly the specs that you need to build the house. All the wood's pre-cut. It's really neat. So I'll drop some links below about kit houses and the kit houses that were built in Norfolk in Colonial Place. So if you drive through Colonial Place, or if you see on my drive-through in this video, you might pick out some kit homes based on those links and those diagrams of the houses. It was originally called Sterling Place, but it was renamed Colonial Place to celebrate the 300-year anniversary of the Jamestown settlement in 1607. So because the neighborhood was built in 1907 in that range, they renamed the neighborhood Colonial Place. Now, if you look at a map, you'll notice that as you get closer to the north side of Colonial Place, you hit water. Now, if you get close to the waterfront streets, that real estate goes way up in price. So if you go to the south side of Colonial Place, that borders another neighborhood south of it called Park Place. Now, those streets near the bottom of Colonial Place, I'm talking the low to mid 200s up to 300 or so. Once you get closer to the water, that number goes from 250 up to 300, 350. Right near the edge, you're talking 380, 400 and up. So if you look at other neighborhoods similar to the style of Colonial Place, you'll see some in Ghent, for instance, and those neighborhoods are more expensive than Colonial Place. So Colonial Place is a popular location for people that want the style home, location, proximity to Ghent or downtown, but don't want to pay a little bit extra for being right in the middle of Ghent or downtown. Now, it sounds more affordable, which it is compared to those areas. However, on the exterior of Colonial Place near the water, you're also going to be paying flood insurance because it does tend to flood in and around the exterior of that neighborhood. And I'll tell you more about that later about the flooding. You'll see as I drive through and show you these houses, they're those old historic 1900s homes, just like in Ghent and West Ghent, places that we've talked about before. They're really wide, large rooms. The streets are wide, lots of trees, lots of shade, and then you're close to the water, so you can drive up and have a nice walk around the streets bordering the water. So the ambiance is nice, especially as you get closer to the water. But I'd say this area too is a great opportunity for somebody that might want to buy a foreclosure and renovate the house and get some built-in equity and have an awesome house that you like if you like that colonial style, because the prices of the homes are just reduced enough compared to Ghent and West Ghent that you can get a more affordable, sometimes I've seen them under 200,000 and you can buy it, renovate it, and be under 300 and have plenty of equity in a house in that neighborhood and have the exact house that you want as well. But you'll find too that a lot of the neighborhoods in Norfolk, in this section of Norfolk, the south section, have a lot of these style homes, which are very desirable. So this is a really nice option for someone who wants the style of home that's in Colonial Place, but also wants the proximity to Ghent and downtown Norfolk without having to pay the prices of Ghent and downtown Norfolk. Now shopping. The shopping in proximity to Colonial Place, mainly MacArthur Center Mall is the one big shopping mall in downtown Norfolk. A lot of shops in Ghent, downtown Norfolk, Granby Street. So if you work your way down south in that section of Norfolk, you'll find plenty of shopping and everything you'll need. Now, in terms of grocery stores, the 3 grocery stores I mentioned in the West Ghent video are the same ones I'd recommend also going to for Colonial Place. There's a Harris Teeter Fresh Market and Food Line in Ghent and close to Ghent that I'd suggest going to for all the essentials that you'll need for groceries. Now, restaurants. I'd say any neighborhood close to Ghent, I always recommend going to Ghent for restaurants and for a lot of things to do in Ghent. Because I love Ghent, but there's a lot of options in Ghent. But there are specific spots close to Colonial Place that I'd say are in the northern section of Ghent that are on the north side of Colley Avenue that I want to recommend for this video. First of all, a new one is Hank's Filling Station, which is it's kind of like a restaurant that has some beer, really good wings and good beer. They have an awesome backyard area for like games. They have bocce ball, they've got ping pong tables, they got foosball. It's really nice and it's all outdoors. They have a stage available. It's almost like if a backyard wedding was happening every day. That's kind of how it feels like for me when I go there. Of course, they have really good wings and good beer at Hank's Filling Station. In addition to that, down the street from Hank's Filling Station is Fellini's. One of the very first restaurants I went to after I graduated from high school was Fellini's. It was recommended to me by one of my community college teachers when I was 18, and that was the first time. That was, what, 17 years ago. So I recommend Fellini's, nice Italian restaurant on Colley. And another third one I'll recommend, I'll tell you about later in the video, which is my favorite restaurant on this north section of Ghent. Now, school districts. Now, if you head north on Granby Street towards the northern side of Norfolk, you'll hit 2 great private schools, Norfolk Christian and Norfolk Collegiate, right off Granby. But for public schools, you've got Maury High School and Blair Middle School. And there are several elementary schools, but the primary one is Granby Elementary. And in addition to that, you've got Larchmont Elementary and James Monroe Elementary. And I'll drop links below for all the schools and the information about the schools in the description underneath this video. And one other thing, I want to talk about the cons of being in Colonial Place. The one big thing about Colonial Place I want to tell you is that it can flood. If you look on the map, you'll notice that it is not all in a high-risk flood zone, but the exterior sections of Colonial Place are in high-risk flood zone. On Llewellyn Avenue, which is the east bordering street in Colonial Place, that section on Llewellyn Avenue near Delaware Avenue, in that little corridor there near that park, the water that approaches Delaware Avenue in that little corridor floods consistently. It can make parking in and around that section very difficult, especially in the apartment complex next to that section of water. So keep that in mind if you're looking about moving to Colonial Place, especially around the edges of Colonial Place. Just watch for flooding and talk to neighbors, and the neighbors know a lot about their neighborhood, right? So talk to neighbors about flooding and see how flooding has influenced that specific house in that corner wherever you're looking to move if you go to Colonial Place. And you got some fun traffic circles there in Colonial Place too, and a nice dog park and park on the east side of Colonial Place. And it really isn't that far a walk from your house probably if you live in Colonial Place. I'd say the flooding is the primary con I'd say about living in Colonial Place, other than the lot sizes. Again, you'll see some of those lots are pretty small. However, you've got access to other places, other parks, and places around town, so you're not stuck even if you have a small lot. Traffic can be a little bit hectic on Granby Street sometimes, but it's not so significant to where I would say avoid that area. It's just something to keep in mind, especially during rush hour times. Now, my favorite restaurant in this section of Norfolk is Le Grand. Le Grand is so small, but it packs a punch. They have one of the best hamburgers I've ever eaten. It's a farm-to-table restaurant. There aren't too many seats in there, so seating's at a premium, but if you can get a seat, it's well worth it. It literally only has 28 seats, and you can see because of the size of the building, but man, it's good. Because they work with a lot of farmers, sometimes their dishes change frequently, so that's another part of the fun about Le Grand, is that you never really exactly know what they might be offering. So I definitely recommend going to Le Grand. And I definitely recommend you subscribing to my channel. And that's it, abrupt ending. Hope you liked it. See you on the next video.